I woke up pregnant with my alpha boss's baby. I decided to have the kid, ditch the dad, and disappear. But he grounded my plane, locked me in his basement, and whispered obsessively, "Stay and I'll give you $2 million a month in spending money." I looked torn. He nibbled my neck. "The company, the houses, and the cars, they're all yours too." My voice was a little unsteady. "I'm not that kind of person." He pressed me tight against him. "And when I die, my $20 billion fortune is all yours." I didn't want to say yes, but he was offering way too much. The overpowering scent of mint pheromones flooded my senses, waking me from a deep sleep. The first thing I saw was a wall of muscle right in front of me, and it made me jump. Where did this perfect eight-pack come from? Am I dreaming? I reached out, my fingers instinctively tracing the lines of his abs. A deep, magnetic voice suddenly rumbled by my ear. "You want more? Huh?" I looked up and was startled by the familiar face. "Wait, isn't this my boss, Jack? What is he doing in my bed, and why is he naked?" The next moment, Jack flipped me over, pinning me down and pulling me into a dizzying wave of pleasure. When I woke up again, I was alone in the bed. My mind was reeling, flooded with new information. I was in chaos before I'd even processed it all. This is the world of a novel, and one of the main characters is Jack, the guy I just hooked up with. But the other main character isn't me. I'm just his disposable beta. X, the one he's with before his faded omega shows up. Oh God, this has to be a dream, right? Steeling myself, I pinched my own arm, hard. The sharp pain told me this was all too real. I shot up in bed, the movement pulling at something down below. A dull, uncomfortable ache made me groan out loud. Just then, the door opened. Jack walked in. Seeing him approach, I scrambled back and buried myself under the covers. His footsteps stopped beside the bed. I held my breath. After a moment of silence, I couldn't resist pulling the blanket back just a tiny bit to peek. My eyes met Jack's. He was putting on his watch. It was a simple action, but he made it look impossibly elegant. Oh right, I almost forgot. This is Jack Ross, head of the legendary Ross family of New York. You're awake. Get up or you'll be late for work. Right? I have to be at work by 9 o'clock. What time is it? The corporate drone instinct must be branded on my soul because I threw off the covers and sat bolt upright. Jack's eyes scanned my body. I saw his Adam's apple bob and instantly realized what was happening. "Pervert," I yelled. The next thing I knew, Jack leaned in and his lips were on mine. An intense wave of mint pheromones washed over me. Just as my legs were about to give out and I felt like he was draining all the life from my body, Jack finally let me go. "See you at the office." With those 3 words, he strode out of the room, and I was left sprawled on the bed, feeling completely drained. I showed up at the office at 9 a.m. sharp. I had barely clocked in when a colleague dumped a stack of files in my arms. "Thanks, Lucas. You're a lifesaver." And with that, he scurried away. I knew everyone was terrified of Jack. To the employees, our CEO was basically the devil himself. And wouldn't you know it, I was his personal assistant. Staring at the files in my hands, I sighed and knocked on the CEO's office door before pushing it open. Jack was busy at his desk. He was focused on his computer, not even sparing me a single glance. Just like any other day, I placed the files on his desk and sorted them into neat piles. "Mr. Ross, these are the documents that need to be handled today." Was all he said, still not looking up. For some reason, a tiny pang of disappointment hit me. I was getting a real hit it and quit it vibe from this guy. Maybe we weren't a couple. Maybe we were just friends with benefits? At noon, being the good assistant I was, I ordered Jack's lunch and was about to head out to grab my own. The elevator had just started its descent when my phone rang. It was him calling me back. The moment I walked into his office, I heard Jack's cool, clipped complaint. "What took you so long?" "It's our lunch break, Mr. Ross. Don't corporate drones get to eat and rest too? So you'd rather go somewhere else for lunch instead of coming to see me?" His words sparked a flicker of rage, the kind only an overworked employee can feel. What's this damn capitalist trying to pull? "Mr. Ross, it's the lunch hour. If I don't go find a place to eat, am I supposed to eat you instead?" The moment the words left my mouth, Jack's expression turned strange. He stared at me, and I started to feel uneasy. Did I go too far? Is this heartless jerk going to get pissed and fire me on the spot? Jack stood up and walked toward me. I held my breath. Is he going to hit me? As his hand came up, I squeezed my eyes shut reflexively. But the pain I expected never came. Instead, he took my hand. Jack led me forward. I opened my eyes and realized he was taking me to the dining table. Lunch was already laid out. It was the exact lunch I'd ordered for him just a little while ago. No wonder I smelled something delicious when I came in. Let's eat. Jack placed his hands on my shoulders and gently pushed me into a seat. It wasn't until a pair of chopsticks was placed in my hand that I finally understood. Jack had called me back to have lunch with him, not to exploit me further. You're acting a little weird today. Jack's question made my heart skip a beat. Did he figure something out? Usually, you run in here to eat with me the second the lunch break starts. What's wrong today? His words triggered a flood of images in my mind. Scenes of me and Jack, eating lunch together, day after day. So, I used to eat with him every day? No wonder I ordered a meal for two today. Oh, I guess I've just been swamped and got confused. How many times have I told you? If you're too busy, delegate. Stop being a pushover and doing everyone else's work. Jack looked annoyed again. Seeing that look on his face made me a little nervous. I quickly shoveled 2 mouthfuls of rice into my mouth and mumbled, "I'm hungry," hoping to change the subject. Luckily, that seemed to work. Jack's expression softened. One of the dishes was a braised eggplant that looked absolutely delicious. I picked up a piece with my chopsticks and was about to pop it in my mouth when another pair of chopsticks intercepted it and snatched it away. I stared at Jack, dumbfounded. What was that about? You won't let me eat? I thought you hated eggplant. His comment suddenly jogged my memory. Oh yeah,
I don't hate eggplant.
I always found the taste weird and hard to swallow. But what just happened? I actually thought that braised eggplant looked appetizing. What surprised me even more was that Jack knew what I disliked. Aren't we just fuck buddies? Eat more fish. Jack placed a piece of fish in my bowl. Steamed sea bass is my favorite. But now, the smell of the fish was making my stomach turn. Did transmigrating into this book change my taste buds? 2. My aversion to the sea bass must have been obvious, because Jack asked, "Is something wrong with the fish?" I don't really like fish anymore. A rare hint of surprise crossed Jack's normally stoic face. The next second, his hand was on my forehead. Are you feeling sick? It wasn't impossible. Nausea could just be from indigestion. Maybe this body ate too much rich food before I showed up? After a long, exhausting day, I was completely wiped out by the time I got home. I was just about to order some delivery when the doorbell rang. I dragged my weary body to the door. Standing outside was a distinguished-looking older man in a suit. He had a gentle, refined air about him. Isn't that Jack's house manager? Is this, "Good evening, Mr. Miller. Mr. Ross asked me to bring the chefs over to prepare your dinner." After he spoke, I noticed 4 men in chef's whites standing behind him. I can just grab something simple. Mr. Ross said you didn't have much of an appetite at lunch, so he wanted the chefs to make you something you'd enjoy. He's being too kind. Is Jack really this attentive to a hookup? The manager smiled warmly. Mr. Ross has always treated you very well. I returned a faint smile but didn't reply. The chefs then came over and asked what I'd like to eat. So I didn't hold back and ordered a few dishes. Except none of them were things I'd normally like. Looks like coming to this world really did change my tastes. The Ross family chefs were incredible. There was no denying it. I ate every last bite of the 4 dishes and soup they made. The only problem was I was stuffed. When Jack came home after 9 p.m., my stomach still felt stretched to its limit. I was sprawled on the sofa, with no energy to even get up and greet him. The moment Jack walked in and saw me lying there, he strode over. He looked at me with a serious expression. Are you not feeling well? Huh? No, I'm just, a little too full. Admitting you ate yourself into a food coma is pretty embarrassing. Jack's expression darkened. If you like the food, I'll have the chefs come every day. But you have to eat in moderation. No more overeating. His tone was stern, but after he said it, he sat down, letting my head rest on his lap. His hand gently massaged my stomach, helping me digest. His movements were gentle, and a pleasant warmth radiated from his hand. After a few minutes of this, my heart started to feel a little warm, too. This Jack guy, he isn't so cold after all. Maybe I can take back what I thought this morning about him being a heartless jerk. After massaging my stomach for half an hour, Jack said he had other methods to help me digest. Before I could even ask what he meant, he leaned down and kissed me. The intense mint of his pheromones swept over me, and I was quickly lost in the kiss. But just as his hands were about to move to the next step, a sudden wave of discomfort rolled through my stomach. Before I could even process it, I shoved him away. Hard. Seeing Jack nearly fall off the sofa, I froze. The atmosphere was beyond awkward. As Jack's face darkened, looking like he was about to explode, I quickly clutched my stomach. My stomach kinda hurts. Hearing that, Jack immediately sat back down, one arm around my shoulders and the other hand gently on my stomach. His cold eyes held a hint of worry. Stomachache? I'll call a doctor over. Seeing him pull out his phone, I quickly stopped him. No, it's okay. I probably just feel sick from overeating. It'll pass. Are you sure you don't want a doctor? No, really. Calling a doctor over because I ate too much is a little dramatic. This interruption also managed to clear my head. Honestly, Jack's pheromones just now were intense and domineering, with an almost magical, seductive quality. With him, this morning, I was too out of it to react. But I really have no interest in maintaining a physical relationship with Jack. I'll be fine after I sleep it off. So no action tonight. You can go home now. I thought my hint was obvious enough, but instead, Jack scooped me up into his arms. I almost let out a pathetic squeak, but I managed to stop myself and wrap my arms around his neck. Once I was holding on, though, I realized just how close we were, especially the way Jack was looking at me, like he wanted to eat me alive. Thankfully, in the end, he just placed me on the bed and didn't do anything else. Go to sleep. I'll join you after I shower. Join me? I wanted to say that wouldn't be necessary, but looking into Jack's serious eyes, I couldn't get the words out. Long after he'd left the room, I was still wondering. Maybe this relationship between me and Jack isn't what I thought it was. That night, Jack and I slept under the same blanket, and that's all we did. During the day at the office, Jack was still an iceberg, but after work, he showed up again. We ate dinner together, then went for a walk to help with digestion. When it came time for our nightlife, I found another excuse to refuse any harmonious bedroom activities. I thought Jack would be angry, but he didn't say a word. He just held me and went to sleep, and so, our second night of just sleeping passed. But that wasn't what really shook me. What shook me was that, for every night that followed, I came up with all sorts of excuses to avoid sleeping with Jack. And I don't know if he saw through my little tricks or what. If I said no, he wouldn't push it. He would just hold me tight in his arms at night, and every morning I'd wake up in his warm, sturdy embrace. Slowly, I went from feeling awkward to getting used to it. I couldn't help but start to seriously reconsider my relationship with Jack. Maybe the way he felt about me wasn't what I'd assumed. He wasn't just treating me like a temporary fling. Over the past few days, some of his actions could almost be described as gentle and thoughtful. It would be a lie to say my heart wasn't moved at all. But the little ripple in my heart instantly went flat the next day when I saw a certain someone at the company.
Lucas.
So what should I be working on? I looked at the person in front of me, who had the innocent face of a college student, and my mind flashed with everything the novel said about him. That's right. The person standing before me is Jack's fated Omega, Alex. He's the other protagonist of this story. He's a main character, and I'm just a disposable ex. It's laughable that I almost let myself get swayed. Lucas? Alex tilted his head, looking at me quizzically. I snapped back to reality and handed him a few files from my desk. This is all company background info and a rundown of assistant duties. Get familiar with it. The company had hired Alex to be my assistant. But I knew that after Alex showed up, the plot between him and Jack would start to unfold. This so-called assistant's assistant role was just a stepping stone for him to replace me. At noon, I went to find Jack for lunch like usual. I don't know if it was because of Alex's arrival, but I didn't have much of an appetite. The table was filled with all the dishes I'd recently started craving, but I had no desire to eat. In fact, I felt a little nauseous. Not feeling well? Jack looked at me, his brow furrowed slightly, his stern features showing a hint of concern. Thinking about how this man would soon be in a sweet romance with someone else, I suddenly felt a surge of anger. With a loud bang, I slammed my bowl down on the table and turned my head away, refusing to look at him. Did I make you angry? Jack put down his chopsticks, scooted closer, and wrapped a long arm around me. The faint, clean scent of mint on him seemed to have a calming effect, and my irritation slowly began to fade. I knew I should push him away, but for some reason, I couldn't bring myself to leave. The warmth of his embrace. No, I bit out coldly. Did I hurt you last night? Jack's blunt question made my face flush bright red. Last night, like all the other nights, I'd refused his advances. I don't know if he was just too pent up, but as he held me, he was rock hard, and it wouldn't go away. In the end, he shamelessly used my leg. So much for the aloof CEO. At times like that, he was just as shameless as anyone else. And even more shamelessly, he just brought it up out loud. I was mentally cursing him out when I saw his hand moving toward my waist, about to pull down my pants. I yanked my waistband tight. Pervert. I yelled. What are you doing in the middle of the day? Jack, however, looked completely serious. I'm checking if your skin is chafed. It's not. It has nothing to do with last night. Seeing his disbelieving expression and fearing he'd actually pull my pants down, I scrambled for an excuse. I just wanted something cold, like ice cream, but there isn't any, so I'm in a bad mood. No ice cream. You've been saying your stomach hurts, but you refuse to see a doctor. You can't have anything cold. Seeing the genuine concern in his eyes, and then thinking about how that concern would soon belong to someone else, a devilish impulse took over. You won't even let me have a little ice cream, I complained. What else can I even expect from you? Jack seemed taken aback by my words. He just stared at me in silence. I braced myself for him to get angry, but after a moment he said, I'll have someone go buy it. Now it was my turn to be surprised. But I was determined to keep being difficult. I deliberately rolled my eyes. What's the point of having someone else buy it? If you're so great, go buy it yourself. You finish your food. I'll be right back. Jack pressed my chopsticks back into my hand and stood up. I stared at him, stunned, forgetting how to react. Why did he agree so readily? The legendary aloof CEO is going to buy ice cream? Just as I was thinking about whether I should stop him, the office door suddenly swung open. Alex was standing in the doorway, looking lost, his eyes wide with the panic of a little rabbit that had wandered into the wrong den. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I thought this was the break room. From my seat on the sofa, I watched Alex bowing at a 90-degree angle to Jack at the door. The whole scene just felt off. Mistaking the CEO's office for the break room? How could he miss the huge CEO's office sign on the door? Then again, the novel did describe this Alex character as innocent and naive. A classic sweet, dumb airhead. Reading the description in the book was one thing, but seeing a real-life version of it was just weirdly grating. Just as I was expecting to see Jack fall for Alex at first sight, just like in the novel, Jack's cold voice cut through the air. You can't tell the difference between the CEO's office and the break room? If you're not going to use your eyes, you can donate them. Alex looked like a startled bunny. His eyes instantly reddened, and he looked pitifully wronged. I'm sorry, Mr. Ross. Get out. Jack's command was icy. Alex looked like he was frozen in shock. After a long pause, he seemed to finally notice me, exclaiming, Lucas, you're here too. So you were blind to my existence just a second ago. But now you can see me? As I was wondering about that, I heard Alex speak again. Lucas, I really didn't mean to barge in. Could you please help me explain to Mr. Ross? Me? This is your last chance. If you don't get out now, don't bother coming in tomorrow. Jack's words seemed to genuinely scare Alex. He didn't dare say another word and quickly left. But just before he disappeared, he shot me a look full of grievance. What was that supposed to mean? Now it's my fault he got yelled at? Wait for me. I'll be back with the ice cream. Jack's voice pulled me back to reality. So even with that interruption, he still hasn't forgotten about the ice cream. It wasn't long before Jack returned with a huge bag. Why did you buy so much? I started mentally calculating how I was going to finish all of it. Then I saw Jack take one mini cone out of the bag and hand it to me. The rest he walked over to the nearby fridge, opened it and stuffed everything inside. I thought that was for me? I asked, staring at the tiny cone in my hand. It's all yours. Then why'd you put it in the fridge? Jack walked over and ruffled my hair. You've been having stomach issues lately, so you can't have too much cold stuff. You can have this little one for today. The rest is for later. When is later? I wasn't even craving ice cream that badly at first, but seeing him bring back so much had definitely whetted my appetite. That depends on your performance. It was just a casual question. What did Jack mean by that? I looked up at him and saw the corners of his lips curve into a slight smile. He suddenly leaned in and whispered in my ear, for example, if you kiss me, you can have another one. Me. Could you be any more ridiculous? You want me to trade my body for ice cream? The real question is, why is my heart suddenly beating so fast? Back at my desk that afternoon, my attention kept getting pulled to my right. It wasn't that I wasn't focused on my work. It was that Alex was staring at me so obviously that it was impossible to ignore. The look of misery in his eyes was practically overflowing. Seriously, what is his problem? I rolled my eyes mentally at Alex's behavior but forced myself not to say anything. I knew that's probably what he was waiting for. The more he wanted it, the more I wouldn't give him the satisfaction. Maybe I just really didn't like this other main character. Why does he get to be the protagonist while I'm destined to be cannon fodder? Perhaps the mental drain of dealing with Alex all day wore me out. After work, I was so tired I fell asleep on the sofa before I even had a chance to eat. In a hazy state of sleep, I felt someone touch my forehead, followed by a pair of cool lips pressing against mine. I instinctively licked my lips. The arm around my waist instantly tensed, and the tentative kiss turned fierce and passionate. His hands began to wander restlessly over my body. But just as he was about to pull my clothes off, I snapped awake and shoved him away. Seeing Jack on the floor, his face cold and hard, I lowered my head, feeling a pang of guilt. What exactly has gotten into you lately? Jack's voice was cold, laced with a barely concealed frustration. When I didn't answer, he seemed to get even more annoyed. He reached out, grabbed my chin, and forced my head up. Tell me, what is wrong with you? I stared into Jack's angry eyes, and a wave of grievance washed over me. One day I just wake up and I'm in this kind of relationship with him. Then I find out I'm in a novel, and I'm just a disposable side character. Now the other main character has shown up. He and Jack are supposed to start some workplace romance, and I could be written off at any moment. The thought of Jack and Alex being all sweet together sent a surge of anger through me. I slapped his hand away from my chin. Nothing's wrong with me, I yelled. I just don't want to sleep with you. If you're so desperate, go find someone else. The words were out before I could stop them, and I instantly regretted them. But I was too emotional to think straight. In your eyes, the only reason I come to see you is to get in your pants? Jack's tone suddenly became calm, but that just made him even more terrifying. I instinctively shrank back. Seeing my reaction, Jack let out a short, bitter laugh. Lucas, do you even have a heart? With that, he grabbed his jacket from the side and left my apartment. I stayed huddled on the sofa for a long time, so long that my body started to feel stiff before I finally moved. Did Jack and I just break up? Couldn't sleep that night. No matter how hard I tried not to think, my mind was filled with Jack. But I had no idea what to do about us. The sun came up. No sleep, but I still had to drag myself to work. As soon as I got to the office, a girl from the secretarial pool, Liz, pointed at my face in shock. Lucas, did you not sleep last night? You look awful. Her desk mate, Jen, leaned over. Definitely no sleep. Those dark circles are crazy. Where were you partying last night? I managed a weak smile and shook my head. If only I'd been out partying. But last night, hey Lucas, this is our department's budget approval for the month. Finance already signed off. Now we just need Mr. Ross's signature. Could you take it to him? Just like every other day, my colleagues handed me all the files that needed Jack's attention. I opened my mouth to refuse several times, but I didn't know what to say. In the end, I just took the stack of documents and walked to the CEO's office. Standing outside the door, thinking about Jack inside, my palms started to sweat. After what happened last night, I had no idea how to face him. As I stood there hesitating, the office door was suddenly pulled open. Jack's icy face appeared before me. I didn't dare look at him and quickly lowered my head, feeling so awkward I couldn't speak. For some reason, I felt incredibly guilty. What is it? After a moment of silence, Jack's cold voice came from above me. Documents. I'm delivering documents. And, huh? At that, I finally looked up. I don't know if I was imagining it, but for a split second, I thought I saw a flicker of hope in his cold eyes. I took a deep breath, about to say something, when Alex's voice suddenly came from the side. Lucas, I finally found you. I was about to ask what he wanted when I saw he had already walked up next to me and was now looking at Jack with a shy expression. Okay then. I don't know if Jack fell for Alex at first sight, but Alex's feelings were pretty obvious. Thinking about how they were both main characters, I suddenly lost all desire to speak. Right? I'm just a side character. What am I even fighting for? No matter how much I struggle, I'm still just a footnote in their story. I thrust the files into Alex's hands and said flatly, I have other things to do. If Mr. Ross has any instructions today, give them to Alex. Back at my desk, I pretended to be focused on work, but my eyes kept drifting to Alex's empty seat. Half an hour, 2 hours. By the time the lunch break started, Alex still hadn't come back. That little flicker of hope I had was almost completely extinguished. Of course, with the side character out of the way, the two leads can finally start their story. Last time, because I was there, Jack didn't get his love at first sight moment. This time, he probably did. For lunch, I ordered for Jack as usual. I'm his assistant, after all. It's part of my job. But this time, I didn't go to his office to eat. I still ordered for two. If I wasn't going, someone else would. Maybe the portion I'd been eating before was never really mine to begin with. I found a random diner downstairs from the office and ordered a beef chow fun. It's usually one of my favorite foods, but staring at the steaming plate in front of me, I had zero appetite. Is it because of my mood? Thinking back, my appetite has been off ever since I came to this world. So many foods just make me feel sick to my stomach. But then there are other things I crave like crazy. When I used to eat with Jack, he would always find ways to coax me into eating when my appetite was poor. But now, he's probably coaxing someone else. The thought made my appetite vanish completely. I barely picked at the chow fun before putting down my chopsticks. The sun was bright and hot. As I walked out of the diner, the sunlight hit me, and my vision suddenly went black. I swayed, my body tipping uncontrollably to the side. In a panic, I flailed my arms, trying to grab onto something. A hand shot out and I latched onto it. The next second, I was pulled into a sturdy embrace. I looked up. Jack was standing in front of me, like something out of a dream. Before I could say anything, Jack swept me up into his arms. It was the middle of the day, and people were everywhere. Dozens of eyes were on us. I was dying of social anxiety and tried to squirm out of his arms. Don't move. Then put me down. Put you down so you can pass out? I just had low blood sugar. I'm feeling better now. I'm fine. Jack just glanced at me without a word, his grip tightening as he picked up his pace. I looked at the street we were on. This wasn't the way back to the office. Where are you taking me? To sell you. Stop joking. Where are we really going? Seeing that I was genuinely angry, Jack finally explained. The hospital. The hospital? Why are you taking me to the hospital? Jack stopped and looked down at me. You're pale, you almost fainted. And you're not going to the hospital? I'm fine. I probably just have a little heat stroke. Heat stroke? It's the middle of winter, right? I was just making up an excuse to avoid going to the hospital with him. I didn't think it would be that stupid. If I'm not feeling well, I'll go to the hospital myself. I don't need you. Jack gave me a long, deep look but said nothing. He just walked faster, carrying me to his car. He placed me in the back seat, got in himself and told the driver to go. We finally found you, young master. The boss was so worried when he couldn't find you that he came looking without even eating lunch. The driver's words, as soon as we got in the car, made me freeze. I didn't know how to react. When Jack had suddenly appeared, I had wondered how he got there. Was it a coincidence? Shouldn't he be having lunch with Alex right now? But instead, he'd skipped his own lunch to find me. I couldn't help but glance over at Jack. He still had that cold, stone-faced expression. But now, I felt like I could see right through it. The man's heart was actually pretty warm, wasn't it? I was already feeling much better before we even reached the hospital. I was about to tell Jack we didn't need to go anymore when I heard the driver ask, "Sir, there's a traffic jam on the expressway. Should we detour through downtown? Or forget Metropolitan General. Just go to the nearest hospital. Metropolitan General was the hospital owned by the Ross Corporation. I listened quietly. I knew Jack wouldn't let me skip the hospital, so I stopped arguing. In the car, Jack didn't say a word, but his large hand rested on my waist, letting me lean against him. I wanted to refuse, but his embrace was just too comfortable. I couldn't bring myself to leave it. Anyway, we never officially broke up. It's not too much to borrow this embrace for a little while, right? The car stopped at the hospital entrance. Jack got out and quickly came around to my side to open the door. I poked my head out, ready to get down, but he scooped me up again. Hey, what are you doing? Put me down. I won't feel safe unless I'm carrying you. Jack's firm voice told me he had no intention of putting me down. Seeing all the people coming and going from the hospital staring at us, I was so embarrassed I wanted to dig a hole and bury myself in it. Since I couldn't fight him, I just buried my head in his chest, figuring if I couldn't see them, they couldn't see me. Seeing this, Jack seemed very pleased. He even murmured, "Good boy." Inside the hospital, Jack set me down on a chair in the waiting area. Wait here for me. With that, he was off, running up and down to get me registered. As the head of the Ross family, if he ever needed medical care, he'd go to his own hospital and be treated like royalty. He'd probably never had to register himself in his life. Seeing him like this, with a bit of an everyday mortal quality, made him feel not so far away. Let's go. Jack returned with the paperwork. That was fast. Yeah, I had them rush it, he said, about to bend down and pick me up again. Not wanting to be the center of attention anymore, I quickly stood up myself. I can walk on my own. Jack frowned slightly, clearly disapproving. Thinking about the mortifying moment we entered the hospital, I had no choice but to bite the bullet and loop my arm through his. I'll just lean on you. That way I won't faint. Jack glanced at the hand on his arm, a thoughtful smile playing on his lips. Hold on tighter. I obediently tightened my grip, letting my body lean against his. Jack put his arm around my waist, the smile on his face now impossible to hide. I stared at the handsome grin on his face and felt myself get lost in it for a moment. Maybe there could be a different ending for me and Jack? As we were about to enter the exam room, Jack's phone suddenly rang. He pulled it out, glanced at the screen, and hung up. But the phone immediately started ringing again. Seeing that he was about to hang up again, I quickly stopped him. What if it's something important? Jack looked at me, then finally answered the call. You go in and sit down first. I'll be right back. Okay. Even though I was perfectly capable of seeing a doctor by myself, for some reason, I really wanted Jack to be there with me. I stood at the door of the exam room, staring down the hall, waiting for him. But 10 minutes passed and he didn't come back. The doctor inside the room was getting impatient. I've written you a few orders. Go downstairs and get some routine tests done. There were a lot of people waiting, and Jack had already pulled strings to get me in. I didn't want to hold anyone else up, so I just nodded, took the slips, and left. After leaving the room, I pulled out my phone to call Jack. The line was still busy. Looks like he's still on the phone. No wonder he didn't come back. Though I was a little disappointed, I took the lab orders and went to get the tests done myself. The results came back quickly in less than half an hour, and I was back in the exam room. It usually takes much longer. Jack must have arranged it beforehand. Your partner? The doctor looked at my test results, his expression serious. My heart dropped. A bad feeling washed over me. What is it, doctor? Am I seriously ill? Don't be nervous. It's nothing major, but you'll need one more test. The doctor even gave me a smile, but it just looked like he was pitying me, trying to comfort me with a grin. My mood instantly plummeted. I thought back on all the times I'd felt unwell lately. Maybe it was because something was seriously wrong with my body. A chill ran through me. I didn't need a mirror to know my face was probably paler than ever. I don't know how I managed to walk out of that room. Looking at the new test order in my hand, I didn't rush off. Instead, I pulled out my phone to call Jack again. It was only at this moment that I realized, when I felt helpless and terrified, he was the only person I could think of. Hello. Before I could even feel happy that the call went through, I was startled by the familiar yet unfamiliar voice on the other end. I double-checked my phone screen to make sure I hadn't dialed the wrong number. The number was right. But who was answering? You. Before I could ask, the person on the other end spoke. Is this Lucas? You're Alex? Yeah. Are you looking for Mr. Ross? He's not available to take your call right now. You can tell me and I'll pass the message along later. My brain felt like it was exploding. Something inside me shattered. After a moment of silence, I managed to find my voice. I forced myself to stay calm and asked, Is Jack with you right now? He is. Alex's cheerful voice sounded incredibly jarring to me now. So, Jack, who had brought me to the hospital, had gotten a call from Alex and immediately ditched me to go to him? I suddenly wanted to laugh. Laugh at myself for having my heart moved. I'm just a disposable side character. How dare I dream of anything more? I silently hung up the phone and walked numbly to get the next test done. I can do this by myself. But when the doctor told me the results, I felt like I was about to fall apart. I couldn't do this. Are you sure, doctor? Sir, as doctors, we would never joke about a patient's condition. But how is that possible? How could I be pregnant? That's right. The doctor had just told me I was pregnant. You'd think it was April Fool's Day. But thinking back on all the weird things that had been happening with my body lately, it all suddenly made perfect sense. While it's rare for betas to conceive, it's not impossible. Plus, your partner is a very powerful alpha, which increases the chances. In any case, being pregnant is a good thing. Congratulations. The doctor's congratulations sounded like pure mockery to me right now. Doctor, if I wanted to terminate it, what would I need to do? The doctor stared at me in shock. Betas have a hard time conceiving. Once pregnant, you must carry to term. A forced abortion would not only kill the fetus, but it would kill you too. Is there no other way? It's not that I don't like kids, but thinking about my role as a disposable character and the baby's other father, it just feels like it would be better for this child not to be born. Sir, I need to know why you're so insistent on an abortion. And shouldn't you be discussing this with your partner? From what I saw, he cares about you a lot. I doubt he'd agree to this. Hearing him mention Jack, my face immediately darkened. He's dead, I said coldly. What? But he was fine just a minute ago. Yeah, he just died. Leaving the exam room, I thought about it and decided to give Jack one last chance. After all, this was about our child. I had to think it through. And maybe the phone call was just a misunderstanding? I've interacted with Alex a few times. I know he's not really the sweet, innocent type, so with that thought, I pulled out my phone to call Jack. But just then, I saw a group of people walk in through the hospital's main entrance. One of them was Jack, and the person right next to him was Alex. Alex walked beside Jack, their arms brushing against each other. He kept turning his head to look at Jack, his face a mix of shy and sweet expressions. Jack had his usual cold look on his face, but I bet he was feeling pretty sweet on the inside. In that moment, the last shred of hope in my heart vanished. My heart died completely. After leaving the hospital, I immediately hailed a cab and went home. I sat on the sofa in a daze for while Jack's call came in. Without thinking, I hung up. The phone kept ringing. After the 13th call, it finally stopped. I seized the moment, opened a travel website, and booked a flight out of the city. I knew Jack would probably come looking for me, but I didn't want to be entangled with him anymore. If I'm destined to be a side character, then let this side character disappear far, far away. After booking the flight, I didn't pack a single thing. I just grabbed my ID and left. 2 hours later, I successfully boarded the plane. But I never imagined that just as the plane was taking off, it would be forced to a halt. Inside the cabin, everyone was buzzing, wondering what was going on. I looked around frantically, and then I saw him. Jack appeared at the cabin entrance, slowly walking toward me. Oh my God, am I dreaming? Where do you think you're going? Jack stood in front of me, his voice icy, his handsome face twisted with some dark emotion. I was a little scared by this version of him and was speechless for a moment. It seemed Jack had no intention of hearing what I had to say. He strode forward, picked me up, and, under the stares of everyone in the cabin, carried me off the plane. Jack, you, shut up. Those 2 words from Jack cut off whatever I was about to say. I'm the one who's right here, so why do I feel so pathetic right now? Off the plane, I saw the private jet parked on the tarmac and the rows of bodyguards in black suits. I felt even more pathetic. So, Jack was the one who grounded the plane. And it seems he did it because of me? Afterward, Jack took me from the airport back to his place. He didn't give me a single chance to speak the entire way. Once we got there, he dragged me straight to the basement. This basement was probably where the Ross family stored their valuables. But I'm a person, not a thing. Jack, what the hell is wrong with you? I demanded, seeing him about to leave after dumping me in the basement. What's wrong with me? Shouldn't I be asking you that? Asking me? Who should be asking who? Have you no conscience? Conscience? Lucas, you have the nerve to talk about conscience? My words must have provoked him. He spun around and advanced on me, pinning me against the wall. Where have I ever been wrong to you? That you'd carry my child and still insist on leaving? His sharp gaze seemed tinged with hurt. So Jack knew I was pregnant. The memory of how helpless I felt when I found out, while Jack was with Alex, sent a wave of anger and grief through me. You don't know why I left? I screamed at him. When I needed you, you were with Alex. Since you have Alex now, isn't it better that I get out of the way? My voice cracked on the last sentence, and my eyes began to burn. Jack, who had been just as furious, looked momentarily confused by my words. After a long pause, he finally asked, Alex? Who's that? Stop pretending. Not long ago I called you and he was the one who answered. And I saw you two walking together. When I was leaving the hospital, everyone knows you left the exam room because you got a call from him. Jack's expression turned strange, and his anger seemed to slowly fade. My dad was in a car accident. My house manager was the one who called me. What? The person you're talking about was at the scene when my dad crashed. He claimed he pulled my dad from the car right before it exploded. We checked the security footage and it was just as he said. Oh, so he's your dad's savior. You two are really fated to be together. A flash of malice crossed Jack's eyes at my words. Savior? It was all just a manipulative plot. I never believe in coincidences, so I had someone investigate immediately. The results proved that my dad's car had been tampered with, and the person who did it was him. What? This time I was truly shocked. I never would have expected a twist like this. When you said you saw us walking together, I was probably taking my dad to the hospital and hadn't had a chance to deal with him yet. And my phone was in my jacket, which I'd given to an assistant. He probably took it then. I can find evidence for all of this. Jack looked at me earnestly. I was processing so much information that I didn't know how to react. Is this what they call a light at the end of the tunnel? But even if it was all a misunderstanding, am I just supposed to forgive Jack like that? Wouldn't that make me look too easy? I kept my face stern. Jack pulled me into a hug. Stay and I'll give you $2 million a month in spending money. I looked torn. He nibbled my neck. The company, the houses, and the cars, they're all yours too. My voice was a little unsteady. I'm not that kind of person. He pressed me tight against him. And when I die, my $20 billion fortune is all yours. I didn't want to say yes, but he was offering way too much. After Jack's father was discharged from the hospital, I went with Jack to visit him. Afterward, we got our marriage license, officially upgrading my status from fuck buddy to husband. Even though the term fuck buddy made Jack's face darken, for me, that's really how I defined our relationship at the beginning. Jack had Alex sent to prison. Seeing one of the story's main characters meet such an end made me realize something. There's no such thing as a disposable character or a protagonist. It's never set in stone. If you're willing to fight for it, anyone can be the main character of their own story.